All right, guys. I don't think the concepts in this section are extremely difficult. The last section that we worked on, you guys worked on finding the total number of outcomes. Finding the total number of outcomes. Now we're going to take that concept and apply it to probability. And one of the words I need to make sure you guys understand is sample space. Have you guys ever heard that word before?
I feel like that's
sample space? You feel like you have?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the sample space. Inside of here, I'm going to put all possibilities of this first thing happening. So what are all the possibilities of that thing happening? Since only one coin is tossed, you can come out with the tails or heads. And those are the only two options. So how many outcomes are in this sample?
Two.
There's only two outcomes. Very simple, very simple. What about this one right here? What about B? What if two coins were tossed? Let's come up with our sample space. What can we get? There's two coins are tossed. We can get a heads and then a heads. We can get a heads then a tails. Or we can get a tails then a heads. And what's the other one? Tails. So how many outcomes do we have for this sample? There's 4 outcomes. Okay, the last one, letter C, 3 coins are tossed. Man, I don't really want to come with all of the possible outcomes for this one because it could get kind of arduous. We can get heads. We get heads, tails. Heads, tails, or heads, or heads, tails, right? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's a lot. Actually, there's not that many. But is there another way we can figure out the total number of possible outcomes instead of listing them all like this?
Possibly.
Cube 2.
Yeah, cube the number 2. And that's because there's 3 spots, right? There's 1 coin, 2 coin, 3 coin. How many possible outcomes are there for 1 coin? Dos. How many possible outcomes are there for the next coin? Dos. How many? What's that? Dos. And what do we do with all those numbers to find out the total number of outcomes? We multiply. 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us 8. There are 8 total possible outcomes for when there's 3 coins that are tossed. So our sample space has 8 outcomes. Okay, I know I'm being really lazy, but here you go. Here's all the possible outcomes. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 total possible outcomes. Okay, so that's how you guys find a sample space. You just have to either list them out, or if the problem just wants to know how many, you can multiply them together. Use the counting principle.